What's up everybody and welcome to another easy math video. Today's video is going to be all about adding and subtracting integers. Let's get into it. Now let's start off our lesson by looking at what are integers. Simply put, integers are negative and positive numbers. Okay, in this case, as you can see on your screen here, we have a couple of examples, negative 15 or positive 4. Okay, these are both examples of integers. Now, integers are a concept, a math concept that we see all around us on an everyday basis. On your screen here, you'll see a couple of examples. We'll see temperature as one. Okay, so if some of us measure temperature in Fahrenheit, others use Celsius. Let's just use Celsius for the sake of this example. We know that the freezing mark in Celsius is right at 0 degrees Celsius. So in the winter, when things get really cold, we move into negative temperatures. So anything below 0 means that you're likely going to see things like ice, snow, etc. Okay, and then when we get into the hotter months in the summer and spring, you're going to see positive temperatures that are well above 0. Okay, another example is in sports. Golf, as you can see here, is a prime example of this. Okay, in golf, we have something called par, and par means 0. Okay, so you want, in order to be successful in golf, you want to get the lowest score possible, meaning you want to get as negative of a score as you can. So we have scores like 5 under par, which would be negative 5, okay, or 5 over par, for example, which would be positive 5. Okay, the lower you can get under par, the better the result. Now, integers can be modeled in a variety of ways. Now, some of us are very good with just, and very comfortable with just using the numbers, and they can simply deal with the numbers and solve problems involving the addition and subtraction of integers. For other people, it helps to have these concepts modeled. So for today, I'm going to be showing you specifically how we can use both number lines and counters to help us with the addition and subtraction of integers. For those of you who just like to use the numbers, this video will be helpful for you as well. We're going to start off with adding integers. Now let's go into some basic rules, okay? So if you are dealing with two integers that have the same symbol, so if, for example, you'll see right here, if we have a positive plus a positive number, the answer is always going to be positive. And if you are adding two negative integers, negative plus a negative, the numbers are always going to be negative, okay? Now, if the signs are different, okay, you are going to ignore the symbols just for a second, okay? And you're going to subtract the two numbers from each other. You're going to take the larger of the two numbers and subtract the smaller value from it, okay? And then whichever symbol was in front of the larger number, you are going to put that symbol in front of your answer, okay? So if I had a positive number plus a negative number, I subtract those two numbers from each other, and then whichever of those two numbers was the larger number. So if the positive number was the larger number, I'm going to put a positive symbol in front of my answer. And if the negative number was the larger number out of the two, then I'm going to put a negative symbol in front of my answer. Okay, here is a good general rule of thought to always remember in your head, okay? If you add negatives to your answer is always going to get more negative, okay? If you add positives to your answer, the answer is always going to get more positive. Now, let's start off by learning how to add integers using a number line. You'll see I have two problems here and a number line, and I'm going to model how we can solve these problems using that number line. Let's start off with the first one, -3 plus +5. Okay, so what I'm going to tell you, you always need to start on the number line with wherever that first number is. So the first digit in this problem is -3. So I'm going to put a dot right there. That is where my starting point in this equation is going to be. Okay, and then I'm adding 5 positives. Guys, always remember when we're adding integers on a number line, if you're adding positives, okay, positives, you move to the right. Okay, I'm just going to write that in there for you. Okay, you move to the right. Sorry for my writing there. We close that G off. Looks like a Y there. Okay. And if you are adding a negative number, you are going to be moving to your left. Plain and simple. Okay. Now, once again, let's get back to it. I am going to start at -3 and we are adding 5 positives, which means we're going to make 5 jumps to our right. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And you see here I end up at +2, which means that is our answer, +2. Okay, pretty straightforward. Next, okay, I'm just going to erase our jumps here so we can start off fresh with the next question. Okay, the next one asks us what -1 plus -4 gives us. So once again, I'm going to start at the first number, which was -1. And this time I'm adding -4, which means we are going to move 4 places to our left. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, and simply put, our answer is -5. Okay, adding integers on a number line, pretty straightforward. I think this should make sense to all of you. Okay, next, we are going to add integers using counters. Okay, adding with counters is also quite easy. Okay, so what we're going to do, first, we're going to start off with -3, which means I'm going to draw 3 negative counters. Okay, you see here they all have a minus symbol. There's our 3 negative counters. And now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to add 5 negative counters on to our total here. Okay. And one more. Now I have to give these all a positive symbol so we know that they're positive. Okay. Whoops. There we go. And one more. Now, once you've done this, guys, you'll notice, I haven't got to an answer yet. I have the 2 digits that I'm using, but when you add them together, guys, when you have both negative and positive counters there, what you're going to try to do is make matching pairs of negatives and positives, and you're going to cancel them out. So here we go. Here's one pair of negative and positives, another one that I have here, and a third one. Okay, so I've canceled all these counters out. Now I got to look at what's remaining. And in this case, I have 2 positives remaining, so our answer is +2. Okay, pretty straightforward. Again, guys, let's try again here. So you're going to get matching pairs when you have opposite symboled integers. When you have both positives and negatives, you're always going to have to cancel out matching pairs. If you have the same symbol, if you have all the same symbol when you're adding integers, you're not going to have to do any of that canceling out. So let's start first by drawing our first number, our 3 negatives. Okay. So there's our 3 negatives. And now I'm going to add on our 5 negatives, which make the second digit. one more. Okay, you'll notice I have no positive integers to cancel out with. So all I'm going to do now is count the total of negative integers I have. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which means that our answer is negative 8. Okay, once again, pretty straightforward. The main thing to remember is once you've drawn all of your counters, if you have both positive and negative integers, you're going to have to make matching pairs of positives and negatives and cancel them out. And whatever you're left with at the end, that is your answer. Okay, let's move on now to looking at subtraction of integers. Remember, whenever you are subtracting positive numbers, the answer is going to become more negative. Okay, taking away positives makes your answers more negative. Okay, so in this example here, we have positive 5 subtract positive 7, which gives us negative 2. Okay, the answers become gone from a positive number to a negative number. Okay, because we've taken away positives. Another example here, we have negative 3 taking away positive 5. So I'm taking away 5 positives, which means it's going to get more negative. It's essentially like I'm adding on 5 more negatives, and then our answer thus becomes negative 8. Okay? If this is a difficult concept for you to understand, we are going to look at how to use both the number line and the counters in just a moment. So just hold tight and you will understand momentarily. Now, remember, when taking away negative numbers now, the answer is going to get more positive. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to end up with a positive answer, but what it does mean is the answer is going to be more positive than what you started with. Okay? It's either going to get positive or it's going to get you closer to 0. Okay? Taking away negatives is exactly like adding positives. For example, if I have positive 5 rather, and I'm taking away negative 7, that's exactly the same as adding 7. So our answer becomes 12. Okay? Another example, if I had negative 3 and I take away negative 5, okay, I'm taking away negatives. So my answer is going to increase by 5. And thus, my answer is negative 2. Once again, if you don't get this, that's okay. We're about to use a number line to help us understand. Okay? So, let's start off with this first one. We're going to start off at negative 2 because I have negative 2 take away positive 3. Now remember, okay, if you are taking away positives, you are going to get more negative, which means you are going to have to move to the left. Okay? And if you are taking away negatives, that means you're getting more positives, which means you are going to have to move to the right. Okay? So, if you are subtracting a negative, okay, you move to the right. Okay, let's just write that in there. Sort of like opposite. Okay, and if you are subtracting positives, you're losing positives, so your answer is going to get more negative. So if you're subtracting positive, your answer is going to move. Your answer is going to get more negative, and thus you are going to move to the left on your number line. Okay, hope that makes sense. Let's give it a try here. So I'm going to start off with negative 2 like I showed you, but in this case I'm taking away positives. Okay, taking away positives, which means I'm going to move to the left, guys. 3 spots. 1, 2, 3. okay, which means that my answer here is negative 5. Okay, let's erase our jumps so we can use it for the next one. Whoops, used the wrong function there. Let's erase all this. Perfect. Okay, next question. It's positive 2, take away positive 3. So I'm taking away positives once again. If I'm taking away positives, you'll see here I move to the left. Okay, so I'm going to start here at positive 2. I'm going to move 3 jumps to the left because I'm taking away positives, which means my answer is going to get more negative. There's 1 jump, 2 jumps, and 3 jumps. My answer here is negative 1. Okay? Remember, I did it again there. Let's erase. Remember, if we are taking away positives, we move to the left. If we are taking away negatives, we move to the right. Let's go to the next one. Okay, we're going to start at negative 2 once again. Okay, but this time we are subtracting negative 3. We're taking away negatives, which means when we take away negatives, we move to the right. Okay, so I'm going to move 3 spaces to the right. 1, 2, and 3. This means that our answer here is positive 1. Okay, guys? The main takeaways to remember: taking away negatives, you move to your right. Taking away positives, you move to your left. Let's use counters now because this might be a little bit more user-friendly for some of you. Okay, subtracting integers using counters. We're going to encounter something similar to what we did when we were adding with counters earlier, in that if we end up with both positive and negative integers, we're going to have to make matching pairs and cancel them out. Okay, let's start off here by drawing. Okay, negative 2 integers. Okay, or sorry, count. We're going to be drawing out negative 2 using counters rather. Now, they're asking us to take away positive 3. But the problem here is I don't have positive 3. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw, okay? Whenever you don't have the amount you need to take away, you can simply draw it in, okay? But you're going to have to create a matching pair of the opposite symbols. So in this case, I'm going to draw in my positive 3, okay? But if I do that, out of thin air, my mistake there. If I draw in positive 3 that I need here out of nowhere, I'm going to have to create a matching set of negative integers. Okay, so I start off with my negative 2. I didn't have negative 3 to take away, I didn't have positive 3 to take away, so I drew positive 3 counters out of nowhere. And if I do that, if I just simply draw them out of nowhere, then I have to also draw 3 of the opposite symbol. So now what I'm going to do is I can now take away my 3 positives. Okay, and now, as you see, what am I left with, guys? Well, I'm left with more negative counters, which makes sense because remember, when we're taking away negatives, we're getting more negative. So now I got to count out what I'm left with. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 negative counters. So our answer is negative 5. Okay, let's move on to the next one. I'm going to draw the first number in counters, which is positive 2. Okay, so there you go. There's my 2 positives. Now they want me to take away 3 positives. I don't have 3 positives. Whenever you don't have that amount to subtract, once again, you can draw it in. Okay, but you have to draw the same amount of the opposite symbol there to match it. Okay, so I can draw in those 3 positives that I need to take away. However, I'm going to have to draw in also 3 negatives to match it, to make it even. Okay, so that I end up with the right answer at the end. So here are my 3 positives. Okay. And here are the 3 matching negatives which I had to draw in. Okay. So I have -2. I have +2. I did not have 3 positives to take away, so I had to draw them in out of nowhere. And if I do that, I have to draw the same amount of the opposite symbol. So now what we're going to do is I can go ahead and take away 3 positives, which I needed to do. However, remember what I told you guys, whenever you're left with counters of the opposite symbol, you have to make matching pairs and cancel them out. So I have 1 pair of positive and negative that I can cancel out, and a second pair of positive and negative that I can cancel out. Now I got to look at what I'm left with. In this case, I'm only left with a single negative counter, so my answer is -1. All right, now let's do this last question here. I have -2 to start with, so I draw my -2 counters. But they want me to take away -3. Remember, if we're taking away a negative, our answer is going to end up being more positive than what we started with. All right. I only have -2 to take away. I don't have -3, which means I can go ahead and draw in 3 negatives that I need to take away. However, remember what I told you guys just a moment ago. If I draw these 3 negatives out of nowhere, I also have to draw 3 of its opposite as well to make it fair. Okay, and this will allow my answer to become correct when I'm finished. If you don't do this step, you're going to end up with the wrong answer. Okay, so I started off with -2. I had to take away -3. I don't have enough to take away. So I can go ahead and draw these 3 negative counters. But if I draw them out of nowhere, I also have to draw the same amount of the opposite symbol, in this case, +3. Now, I can go ahead and start and take away the 3 negatives that I need to. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now, here we go. Same issue as we had on the last question. I'm left with counters of the opposite symbol remaining. And whenever we have that, we have to make matching pairs of positives and negatives so we can cancel them out. Here's 1 pair and a second pair. And what am I left with, guys? 1 positive counter left. So my answer is +1. Okay? Pretty straightforward, guys. Please go ahead and give it a try. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. And we can see if we can tackle them on a future video, or I can provide a little bit of support in the comment section if I'm able to. If you like the videos that we're putting out, guys, please like and subscribe. It helps us out tremendously. Hope this helped you out. Give it a try, guys. All right? See ya.